What's up, world? This is Wilson coming at you, and I am joined with JP.
Hey!
Cam.
What's up?
And the producer, O.
What's up?
And we are the Shepherds of Men. Welcome to the Movement Podcast. Today is going to be talking about simplicity and how you should have simplicity in your life, really. I live a very simple life. I literally journaled just yesterday. And I guess I have a problem trying to write things sometimes because it's just not so complex. And literally in the journal, I was saying how I don't live a very complex life. I'm very surface level when it comes to most things. And when I wrote in there, it's just like it's a matter of just a few things that you need to get right. You know, you need to get your spiritual life right. You need to get your family right and your goals in life. What you want to accomplish, and it's pretty much that basic. And then you just figure out a way to get it. But I guess the more complex part would be figure it out how to get there. And that's where you have people like these guys to kind of direct you and help you and mentor you. And we've been teaching you this over the last course of many episodes. So hopefully you're listening. But now I want to talk about just making it more simple. Don't complex everything. You don't have to have an equation to every problem. All you have to do is just think simply about what you want to accomplish and take yourself out of the environment of where your mindset is currently. Because when you're in the ditch, so to speak, and you're in the gritty and the grime of what you're trying to accomplish, it's hard to really have an outside perspective of what you're really looking to do. That's where it's really important to have somebody else in your life to help direct you in those moments. But it's not that complex. And that's what I want to talk about today, guys. I want you to kind of elaborate and just kind of unpack this idea of how simplicity can help, how it could hurt, because you can be too simple. And what are some takeaways or what some things that we should do or as a listeners could do to become more simple in the normal, mundane stuff that we have to deal with every day.
Did you say you wanted us to elaborate on simplicity?
Well, just unpack it. Unpack it from what I just opened up this.
But don't oversimplify it. Yeah. Am I in there somewhere between there?
Somewhere in between that. It's in between Genesis and Revelation.
Right. It's in there somewhere.
Somewhere. Just go find it.
Oh man. No, I mean, we kind of joke about Wilson, how he is very surface level. We call him icing. Some would call it frosting, just because he is so surface level.
Fondant.
even less surface.
Yeah.
And yet still edible.
Yes.
Barely.
But,
yeah.
I don't like fondant.
It's like you eat it.
The worst.
You eat it because it's there, but you don't really like it.
I think it's a texture thing.
That was an Ashley quote.
Yeah. She sent me a message.
Man.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No.
You eat it because it's there.
Because you have to. Thanks. Appreciate that.
You have to. Wow.
Much love on the podcast
You
this
get
morning.
more booty than I do, so I'm not going to hate.
Well, no, what's funny about it, though, is like we always, bust Wilson's chops about just how simple his approach to life is and how surface level he can be and shallow, but like not in like a negative way, but just like doesn't overcomplicate things. But, even though we joke about it, there are certainly times where I know for myself, and I know JP can agree with this too, where it's been like, it would be refreshing, just to like, why are you getting so bogged down with things? Like, just like really, he's the happiest dude in the room everywhere we go. And it's because he's literally only got about 3 things on his mind the whole day.
I can tell you one of them right on the top.
Right. Now I can tell you all 3 of them. It's the same thing.
That's right.
But, and I don't mean that disrespectfully at all. I mean, I'm envious a lot of times, quite frankly. But, on a serious note, though, there are, even when you are, you go back through however many episodes of things we've talked about now where, how to be a man for your family, how to be a great father and leader in your community, and all these different things that are important. At the core, it's really simple. I mean, it really is. We've talked about a lot of success principles, throughout this podcast, and success is very simple. If any person's book that I've read that I respect and what they've accomplished in their careers or in their life, or if they have a quote unquote success, and everybody's got a different definition for that, but just they have had success in their life. Every one of them says the same thing. Like, there's just not that much to it. Like, you got to have the foundation right. You got to have the fundamentals right. But, where you really start hurting yourself from a success standpoint, from a accomplishment standpoint, from honestly, like we just talked about in the last episode, from having happiness and joy, is when you overcomplicate things, when you make things very complex, right? Because there's so many ways to get bogged down, or there's so many ways to focus on negative, as opposed to just focusing on, I want to do this, let's do this to get there, and that's it, right?
That's it.
And some people would say, well, no, there's more to it than that. There's really not, though. There's really not. I mean, action, as we've said a million times, I think I've said it in almost every episode at this point, action and attitude are the two things that you really can control. That's it.
That's it.
How simple is that? There's two things. No, there's more to it. There's really not. Have a good attitude and take the proper actions toward the things you want to accomplish. That's it. But what are those actions? Well, that is different depending on what you want to accomplish, but it's still simple. But what if this happens? That's outside of your control. It doesn't matter.
Well, you think about, what do you really need in life? You need water, food, and shelter.
And sex.
And sex, for
Seriously,
sure.
I'm not joking.
I mean,
that's
a need.
I
Procreate.
think it is.
Reproduction.
Reproduction. Yeah.
Well, if you're single and don't have anything else, that's
Josh
all
is
you
really
need.
good at.
Which
by the
I'm
way.
starting to figure out.
Yeah.
I've figured out the formula.
Reproduction.
Talk about simple. Lord have mercy.
Jeez.
One time.
You told me that. It's like, happened to be
4 times at least.
the best time, and that was the time.
Oh, it was so good, though.
Wow.
Sorry about that. To our listeners out there.
Well, when you're Josh, you have to reminisce. So
Yeah.
Often.
Yeah. So one of my I love this. I love this episode. To be honest with you, this is where I've made my money in my career. I'm going to be honest with you, and I think I talked about this in the last episode that we had. But I've made my money in being able to interpret what somebody who does not know how to make things simple, and taking a complex situation and making it simple for people to understand. Because simplicity equals efficiency, right? So the more complexity, the more chaos there is. And I'm telling you, this is one of the cool things that, and I can't remember where I picked this up, so I apologize. Please forgive me if somebody said this before. But in my emails, there's times where I'll send out this like monstrosity of an email to explain all this stuff that's going on or whatever needs to happen. And at the bottom of it, I'll sign it and I'll say, I really apologize for the lengthy email. I didn't have time to make it short. I'll do that. And what's cool, though, is some of the upper level management that truly understand it will respond to that email. Nothing to do with the email, but the signature was outstanding. Because the thing that's really confusing about that is people orient complexity with depth of thought, when it's truly a waste of time.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And for me personally, I think when you can take things and you can really boil it down and create simplicity of it, it shows you direction. Complexity makes direction very foggy. So it's some of the greatest CEOs in history have always talked about, like, who do you go to when you need something done? I go to the laziest guy I have. What the hell do you mean? Why would you go to the laziest guy you have? The laziest guy that I have, and not lazy because they don't want to do the work, but a very intelligent individual that's just naturally lazy, because they will find the simplest way to do it.
Yep.
The simplest way to get the work done. I do it often in my career. But Bruce Lee used to talk about, Bruce Lee's got a quote that says, it's not a daily increase, but a daily decrease. Hack away at the inessentials. What we do a very good job of is packing our bags, right? We continue to put shit into our bags. But we don't cut shit away as we go. And if you look at your inbox of your email, a lot of times it fills up. Why? Because you don't want to get rid of this stuff. You don't need it. You just don't want to get rid of it. Because what if you need it one day? It creates complexity in your life. A lot of things happen with that. That's how you live your life too. The same way you manage your inbox. You just continue to take things on. You hold them. Oh, I need to hold this. I need to hold that. I need to hold this. I need to hold that. And it creates chaos. It creates complexity in your life, and stuff like that. And I feel like I need to light a candle. Like I feel like you're looking at me.
No, I'm wondering.
It's time to take some tea.
I want to get
and I need
this
to
point.
shave my head.
I want to find out more. I need you to go deeper on this. Oh,
But it gets complex when I go do.
I know.
I'm so confused.
I just want to get this because I'm thinking about how I do my manage my emails, and I don't keep everything, but I delete and then I put in a folder if I need to reference it for later,
Like an archive.
So archive or put it somewhere, but it's all organized.
Sure.
Now I don't have any unchecked.
Yeah.
Everything's checked and put in its place, and it's ready to go. And my actual inbox has probably 10 at the most.
Yeah.
If it goes any higher than that, it just drives me insane. So are you talking about that? What are you talking about? Explain that or simplify that thought even more.
Yeah. So that's a really, really, really good depiction of the difference between you and me. Oh God, probably have roughly 10,000 emails in my inbox.
Holy frick!
And, like I see you getting anxiety right now. So, and it's not because like they're not unchecked. Like only 90 of the 10,000 are unchecked. But a lot of them, I don't. But I get bombarded. Like I get a lot of emails. I get a lot of emails.
Give us an idea how many a day.
Well, so I took
hour,
Thursday and Friday off, and I had 652 emails from Thursday and Friday being off.
Okay,
652.
it's pretty good.
corporate life.
Unbelievably. So there it goes right there. Yep. So complexity of life.
Yep.
About 75% of those don't matter, and another 20% of the 25% are like, meh.
Yeah.
I might need this.
Might.
Mostly because people didn't want to take the time to reach out and call you real quick, and so it created this email strand that overcomplicated things.
Yep.
Yes.
And created 5 more phone calls that needed to happen that didn't happen, and so it just builds on itself.
Right.
When it could have been just simplified and said, "Hey, JP, need you to do this real quick,"
Right.
or "Hey, we need to talk about this when we get together." I can't. I personally hate emails. I hate them because I think they are a cop out. I really do. Like, I know that's not what this topic is about, but I think emails overcomplicate life. Now, I may be the outside looking in on this, but I think a quick text or a call, and we can be way more productive. When you shoot an email, it basically says, I just am not motivated to actually solve whatever we're trying to solve, so I'm going to type a bunch of words so you feel like I am very engaged with this mentally, but I am absolutely not. However, this will buy me time to waste more time. And by the time you get done reading this, you won't want to do it either, and you'll forward it on to somebody else. Sincerely, dumbass.
Pretty close. Now, okay, so now I'm in logistics, so I have to email quite often. Now, I do get that same point, though, is when you're tracking your shipments and stuff like that, you do get lazy in just sending out an email, and hopefully that somebody will respond to you. So, true story, just recently, I have a carrier that's like kicking butt. We do a lot of business with them. Started to talk about work, but this is important. Versus email, they wouldn't reply. But I got on a messaging, like a text app for all of their dispatchers, and I can hit them up, and then they reply instantaneously. Yep. I would prefer it to be a text world where you can just text real quick, just for those things. But a phone call is very, very important. Pick up the phone.
Oh, for sure.
Have a conversation, and you never know where that conversation is going to go. That simplifies your life.
This might be getting a little off topic of what JP was talking about, but I think one of the reasons that people do overcomplicate things is because they want it to sound like more than what it is. Like the most productive, successful people I know are okay with not saying a lot of things, right? It was kind of hitting on what you were mentioning, JP. It's like, and I'll use this example. We were kind of joking about this earlier, but Donald Trump, love him or hate him, he has a tendency to not really go into a lot of detail about the things he does. And that may be partially because he doesn't know how to communicate it, or maybe just he doesn't feel like it's necessary. Like, I have a job to do and I'm doing it and we're all good, And some people get frustrated by that. I'm just kind of like, I don't really care to hear him communicate for 30 minutes about what's going on. I just want to know if it's getting done or not.
Yep.
So I'll tell you my profile. So we have to build profiles based off of who we are. So if people need to reach out, because Amazon's a massive company, obviously, and I've heard of them. I think they're going to make it. We call it phone tool. So I use it often. Anytime I'm talking to somebody, just to find out like what's their area of expertise, what do they do, what's their contact information, blah blah blah. But there's some personal stuff in there that you can put that kind of. Sometimes it tells a story of who somebody is. Some people do it, but my signature on there is actually a quote from Martin Fisher, and it says, "Knowledge is a process of piling up facts. Wisdom lies in their simplification. So, and that goes directly to your point. So a lot of times what I do with guys that work for me is when I ask them a question, if I sense that the conversation is going to go into a 10-minute explanation for what it is, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Yep. It's like an interview. When
Tell
you
me,
ask a question and it's like somebody rambles on, like, okay, you're just filling space.
right. Tell me what I'm asking you for and stop. Like, and if there needs to be more depth involved in that, I'll ask you. But the art, and if you look at that quote, the knowledge is a process of piling up facts, right? Knowledge is, whatever, Jeopardy. I have all these facts and stuff like that. But wisdom is taking all those facts and being able to go, here's the picture. So my job, my responsibility is to advise people at a very high level to make decisions. They rely on me to make decisions. They don't rely on me to throw a shit ton of facts at them, because I could send them a 72-page email that's got all kinds of facts in it and stuff like that. What they want to know is, are we going to sink or are we going to swim over here? Well, we're going to swim because of this.
Yeah.
Okay, cool, good deal. And then move on to the next thing. Because once you get to certain levels, you don't have time for complexity.
No.
You got 5 minutes.
Like you said, it's inefficient.
Yeah, you got 5 minutes. And then they're moving on to the next department.
Yeah.
It's not just you. You got 5 minutes. You got an elevator speech. And I would suggest, and while we're talking about this from a simplicity standpoint, take all the knowledge and facts and things that you've learned in your life, turn it into an elevator speech. An elevator speech is something that's probably 30 seconds to maybe 2 minutes at the most, that you could say about who you are, what you do, what your goals are, what you've done in your past or whatever it may be, and where you're going in life. So if you ever run into somebody that's important, you can have that conversation.
Well, and let's be honest, in the world we live in now, you look at Instagram, you look at social media. Went from Facebook, where you could post the most lengthy things you want to with a ton of pictures, to Instagram, where it was more like picture-based and then some caption, to Snapchat, where it was literally like, I still don't know much about Snapchat, but apparently you can just post a picture and it goes away. You look at Twitter is short, brevity. You look at the stories on Instagram now. So really more people are spending time putting out stories, which are 10 seconds or whatever it is. What was the other one I was thinking about was TikTok. Is the thing now. And it's a very short, I'm trying to draw attention with 30 seconds, or not even that much. I don't know how long it is, 15 seconds or whatever it is. I'm trying to draw attention. You got to keep it simple. How can you be productive in that time? You have to figure out how to simplify things and not overcomplicate things. JP was talking about something and it made me think about something, and then I forgot it. And this happens a lot recently, and I don't know why.
It's because you're getting younger.
That's right.
I like the idea of what you were talking about, making decisions. I think being simple is being able to make a decision and not be so wishy-washy with where you stand. But you got to know where you stand, right? We've talked about that in a lot of different episodes.
What it is now.
But being able to make those quick, decisive decisions and just roll with it and make it the right decision.
No, you were talking about from the corporate world, and I will say from a sales world, so one-on-one sales. For anybody that's in that environment, one of my biggest advantages that I've had over the years is I know how to simplify my interaction with the customer.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you, I get feedback from customers all the time. I'm at their house or whatever, and my competitors approach things in a very different way. And I'll just, a good rule of thumb for those of you that are consumers or in positions where people are, whatever, the more complex it is, the more bullshit it is, right? So you think about, like, we did early voting, and you get to, like, in your area, wherever you live in the country, I'm sure there's some amendment to something that's being voted on, and it is like just paragraphs of legal jargon that is so complex that my wife is like yelling over me, are we yes or no on this? And I'm like, hold on, I'm still reading. Yeah, I don't know if we are or not, but that's a red flag. Like, this, what are we hiding here, right? What are we trying to get people that don't really take the time to read this? Maybe we get some lucky votes or whatever. I think about, people that I sell, competitors I sell against. I have customers tell me they're in their house for 2.5 hours. going through like flip charts and watching a video. They were like, they wanted me to watch this video. They went through this flip chart. They showed me all these different samples. They bashed this company. They did this. They got on the phone call with their sales manager. I'm there for 30 minutes, and that's with all the stuff I did before I walked in the house, and it's literally like, here's what it is, da-da-da-da-da, and we're done. And I can't tell you how many times I've closed a deal just because I've been simple and I've been to the point, and I care more about what matters to them as opposed to me.
Or the product.
Or the product, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, and you're right. I'd buy from you in a heartbeat.
Yep.
Somebody sits in there with me for 2 hours.
Oh my gosh,
I'm ready for you to
dude.
get the hell out. I'm not interested in buying. I'm ready for you to get the hell out. But so in my nature of business and what I do, a lot of my engineers write processes and procedures and things of that nature and stuff. They're kind of process engineers and stuff. And one of the things that I always propose to these guys is, could your wife do it?
Mm.
They'll give me a process and they're like, what do you think about it? I'm like, could your wife do it? What do you mean, can my wife do it? Could your wife follow the process that you just wrote and come out to the same result as a guy that's been doing this for 30 years? Mm. Well, I don't know. I said, well, that's a good gauge, because Albert Einstein had a quote that said, if you can't explain it to a 6-year-old, you don't understand it.
Mm. That's good. It's a mouthful. I mean, it's the truth, and it goes back to the wisdom thing.
Yeah.
It really does. Like, I love your email. Like, I didn't have time to simplify it.
Yeah.
If you really have deep understanding of things, what's that story where, man, I should figure out how to reference this. The story where they're like, hey, write this explanation of how to do X, and they come back and it's like a page, and they're like, nope, it's got to be more simple. And so they go back and they have a paragraph. They whittled it down to a paragraph. They're like, no, it's still too long, still too complex. And they come back and it's like a couple sentences. They're like, nope, still too complex. And they're like, what the heck, dude? And eventually it whittles down to it's like a word or two, and it sums up what they had originally written in a page or more, right? And it was, but the practice was you're thinking at a deeper level, and you have a deeper understanding, and you're literally saying the same message with one or two words that you were trying to say in a whole paragraph. I used to say this to you when we were we were doing some business together and had some mentorship going on there. And we joke about Wilson, and this is not. You don't mind me sharing this?
I don't mind.
This is transparency. This is not busting his balls. But we joke about him being simple. But there was times where Wilson would just overcompensate for his natural tendency of simplicity, and just go on and on. There'd be communications with potential business partners that were just like pages of text, and it would drive me insane. And I'd be like, dude, I mean, what is this? And it was because there was again, not a de-edification here. It was not a deep understanding of what we were trying to accomplish with the conversation. When you started realizing what we were actually trying to accomplish, you'd be like, well, what would you say? And it'd be like 4 words.
Yeah. Like, dang, I didn't even think about that.
And it was just because there was a different level of understanding or repetition of those kinds of conversations or whatever, but it was more productive.
Right.
And I'm telling you, I'm like, JP, you send me a 4-page text, I stop reading it the first sentence. Oh, yeah. Like, I'm already done.
Yeah, absolutely. So order and simplification is like the first steps towards mastery in something. What attracts me more than anything is when somebody can look at me in 1 or 2 sentences and hit me right in the gut with what I need to hear.
Yeah.
Like that's attractive, because that's somebody who's mastered their craft. Mm-hmm. Somebody that has mastered their craft can look at you and hit you with a couple sentences and then stop, and you go, well played.
Well played.
Well played.
It's my favorite statement. There it goes again.
Awesome. So that was pretty simple. Anything else?
I think we should drag this out a little further.
Just a little longer. Okay. I think that was great. Anything else that you would like to add?
One thing that I want to add, though, is spend the time when people aren't looking at you to organize the complex. Spend the time that's where the mastery comes in. That's where people don't understand. These people that you look at that are like, oh, they're so lucky to be where they're at, or they're so intelligent and stuff like that. They became intelligent because of the fact that they were able to stack up knowledge based off of facts and different things of that nature, and then they thought about it. They didn't read a book and just go, oh, here's a fact, here's a fact, here's a fact. They thought about it. They create wisdom from the thoughts and the facts that they pile up, and the wisdom comes out in very short blurbs that make you go, huh, how about that? So when you're reading a book, think about what you're reading. What does that tell you? If you read 6 pages, and out of those 6 pages, you can sum that up in 2 sentences, you're on the right track. You can start to really translate a ton of information into something that's useful for somebody else. That's where you can, or yourself. I mean, your own mind. I mean, you can start to do that for your own mind. When you can simplify a 600-page book into something that goes, this is what I need to do to move forward. That's when you can start to understand how simplification can create clarity in your life.
Yeah, and one other thing I want to add too is, when we're talking about keeping things simple, that doesn't mean, just so we're clear, it doesn't mean like don't care about the details. It doesn't mean you skim over stuff that matters because you're like, oh, we're supposed to keep it simple. We're just not going to worry about crap. No, I don't think you should worry about anything, but we're not going to concern ourselves with things. That's not what we're talking about. JP was just saying that. Like, you might be taking some time on one-on-one time with yourself where you're digging through details or you're figuring stuff out or whatever. We're talking about take the complexity and simplify it, not skip it. Like saying pass all the time is not going to get you. That's a different result. That's a different result. So don't simplify yourself to death, literally.
Well, think about it in terms of like a financial advisor or somebody like that you hire to do something. You hire those individuals to take a complex situation, a shitload of numbers, and turn around and present it to you in this pretty little package that says, this is how much money you're going to make over the next 6 months if you do X, Y, and Z. Now, behind the scenes, there's chaos and numbers all over the place, and there's shit going all over, and this is this, and there's an equation over here, and an interest rate here, and this and that, and everything, and this is how these are going to interact and stuff like that. But when it's presented to you, it's based off of an individual that has a certain level of wisdom based off the facts that they were able to compile, and then they present it to you in a very simple fashion, and you go, that's why I'm willing to pay you 10%.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly right.
And don't over analyze things that are simple. Keep it simple. And that's it, guys. I hope that you guys learned some good information here today. Thank you for your time, guys, at the table. And just go out there and just really think about what they just talked about, how you can digest it. But it starts with you. You have to take the extra work on the behind the scenes and get educated, learn, and then be able to simplify those things back out to those folks. So awesome stuff. Definitely follow us on the Shepherds of Men or shepherdsof.men's website. There's a ton of stuff that's coming out, so stay tuned. And also, we're going to have a lot of new swag. We're going to have a lot of new promo videos and just a lot of cool, neat stuff that's coming out. So if you see anywhere you can add value to the Shepherds of Men and the movement, please do so. Take the time to put a review, send out a post. Give us some love, give us some feedback, give us some things that you're struggling with, or some things that why it's hard for you to simplify things, or challenge some of us with our thought process if you think differently. We love it. We actually openly accept that for sure. So with that, the guys, just go out there, become better than who you are yesterday. Every single day, be better than you. Well, just be the best. Go become.